What's going on, guys? Winter Kills here. Welcome back to a brand new featured archetype. I've actually been like saving and putting off looking at some of these effects. The only card I've seen is Mischief of the Time Goddess. I read that card a couple days ago, and it's a very interesting card. It's like a quick play that like literally puts you to your next battle phase, and it skips your opponent's turn, sort of. It's not on YGO Pro, so I'm not going to be including it in this video, but if I find a link to that card effect, I'll put that in the description for you to check out if you haven't seen that card yet. But we're going to be looking at Valkyries in today's featured archetype. That is the featured archetype, Valkyries. We're looking at one of the newer archetypes coming out in the Shadows in Valhalla set, which comes out in a couple weeks. Figured it'd be an appropriate time to cover that right now. So what we're going to do is look at the monsters and spells available, and I'm going to give my opinion on them. This is sort of my first reaction to seeing some of these cards. I've never seen them. I've heard of some of them, but I've never read any of their effects till this point. So the first one here is have Valkyrie Brunhilde, and I think this is like one of the better ones of the set. I think it's like a secret rare one. I'm not entirely sure, but it's unaffected by your opponent's spell effects. So immediate counter to what is it? Sky Strikers. Instantaneous. Like, it's got like a built-in masterpiece effect. That is really good. Gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls. At 1800, I mean, it's a level 7, which is kind of interesting, but at 1800 attack, I guess that kind of helps out a bit. When a monster declares an attack, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can have this card lose exactly 1,000 defense, and if you do, your Valkyrie monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. Okay, so that's not too bad. I mean, it's a permanent loss. So you can do that up to 2 times. You can save yourself from destruction by battle. So that's actually not too bad. But the first effect, unaffected by spells, if you can get this thing out super easily, that is going to be a thorn in Sky Striker's sides, for sure. And then we have Valkyrie Erst. I love the artwork on some of these cards. Very cool, like Nordic sort of mythology, sort of being put in to the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, sort of like the Nordic monsters, but these they seem like they're going to be better. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll have to wait and see. If this card is special summoned from the hand by a spell effect, you can target one Mischief of the Time Goddess in your graveyard, add it to your hand. If you control a Valkyrie monster other than itself, quick effect, you can banish one monster from your opponent's graveyard. This card's attack becomes equal to the banished monster's original attack until the end of its turn. You can only use this effect Valkyrie Erst once per turn. And that's each effect as well. So if it's special summoned by the effect of a spell, you get to add back Mischief of the Time Goddess, which, like I said, is that really powerful quick play spell that like skips your next battle phase. You have to like play it during your turn, and it's like spell speed 4 or something. Like I said, if at the end of the video, maybe I can find it, I'll pull it up on here, and you won't have to go look for it yourselves. But keep that in mind. This card adds that back from the graveyard, and it also has the ability to banish something from your opponent's graveyard, which is really good against Sky Strikers. Because getting rid of Ace Ray is like 100% key against that deck. Stops the floating. But you can banish Darkest Diabolos. That's an added 3,000 attack. It gains the attack. Its attack becomes equal to that banished monster. That's really good. Actually, I kind of misread it. I thought I said it was going to gain the attack. So I'm like, it's going to gain 3,000 money up to 4,600. That's OTK City right there. But still, regardless, you can use that to your advantage a lot, especially some decks that rely heavy on the graveyard. And for the most case, I don't even think you're going to be using it for the attack, change. For the most part, it's just like a free, banish something out of your opponent's graveyard, if you will. Then we have Fortune Chariot here, and keep in mind, this one was a level 6, this is 7. This is also a level 6, the first 2 are light. And they're fairies. This one is fairy, this is Union, but this one's a wind, level 6. This card is always treated as a Valkyrie card, so it's Fortune Chariot. That's why I included it in here as well. Once per turn, you can either target one fairy monster you control, equip this card to that target, or unequip this card and special summon it. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by an opponent battle card effect, destroy this card instead. The equipped monster can attack directly, but when it does using this effect, the battle damage inflicted to your opponent is halved. Okay, so I was kind of waiting for some sort of restrictive clause to be put on this card. It can attack directly, which is awesome. Doing any sort of direct damage to your opponent's life points right now with the time rule is just fantastic, and it's always going to be. That'll just always be something that's going to be very good. is just putting that pressure on your opponent's life points like that immediately, even if it's halved, right? It's still pretty potent because this thing is going to gain 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls. At a minimum of 1 is pumping up to 2300. This one here can manipulate its attack, so if you banish something like a Darkest Diabolus out of your opponent's grave, just an example, that's 3000 attack, you get to swing for 15 direct. Kind of like a Sky Striker Hayate. It's still pretty good. Not super over the top, but it's a decent effect. I like it. This one is Valkyrie's White, level 5 Fairy Light Monster. So we have 2 level 6s, a 7, and a 5. If this card is summoned, period. If this card is summoned, you can target one monster in your opponent's you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. After damage calculation, if this card battled, you can target one continuous spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of, okay. So, if it's special summon, you can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. So it hits the board, it's going to pop something. That's really nice. It doesn't have to be a normal summon or special summon, it's either or. And after damage calculation, if this card battled, you get to target a continuous spell and add it back from your grave to your hand. And I already see over here we have 3 continuous spells, so I can see this thing being very useful to get back resources from the grave. And then we have Valkyrie Brunhilde, level 4, the only normal summonable one, at least that we know, without tribute, obviously. In the deck, 1000 attack, 1600 defense, fairy effect. It's a light monster. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Valkyrie card from your deck to your hand except itself, and then you can only use this effect of Valkyrie Brunhilde once per turn. Gains 200 attack for each of your opponent's banished monsters. I can't really see what deck that's going to be really good against. You do have a card in the deck, though, that banishes monsters from your opponent's grave. So, comboing these two together, I could see some synergy there. Maybe if you banish a couple monsters via this effect during that game, this thing could gain up to 200 to 600 attack, realistically putting up to 1600, which isn't too big of a deal. But it is a search card. It just adds any Valkyrie card from deck to hand, which could add, I'm assuming, this and any one of these. Maybe not Fortune Chariot, but it says it's always treated as a Valkyrie card, so I'm assuming you might be able to add it. But that's nice. A good searcher for a deck is always nice to have, obviously. Then we have a normal spell here, Ride of the Valkyries. I love the artwork on it. It sort of reminds me of the Forbidden cards, like Forbidden Chalice and Lance, that type of landscape going on in the background. I really do like that. Then special summon any number of Valkyrie monsters with different names from your hand. Oh. If you special summon 3 or more monsters with this effect, you take no battle damage until the end of the next turn. During the end phase, wait a second. Hold on. During the end phase, we'll come back to that. During the end phase of the turn, you activate this card, shuffle all monsters you control into the deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add a Mischief of the Time Goddess from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Ride of the Valkyries once per turn. So we have like 2 ways to get that card back to our hand right now. Via this card here, if it's special summoned by a spell, you get to add it back from the grave. This, you can just banish it from your grave, and add it from your deck to your hand. So this literally just lets you summon any number of Valkyrie monsters from your hand. And like it says, you take no battle damage the next turn, which I was expecting it to say like your opponent takes no battle damage the turn you activate this, strictly because you just get to literally summon as many Valkyrie monsters from your hand as you can. And it doesn't say you can't even use their effects either. But they all go back into the deck during the end phase. So, and it protects you from taking damage the next turn because you're most likely not going to have a monster on your board unless you use them to link or sync. Or you wouldn't. No synchro was going on unless you threw something in there. Maybe an Xyz if you use 2 level 4s, 5s, or 6s, depending on what was in your hand. Maybe an Xyz play so they wouldn't all get shuffled back into the deck. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, add a Mischief of the Time Goddess from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Ride of the Valkyries once per turn. Special summon. Like, is this first part not once per turn? I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter. You're gonna special summon any number of Valkyrie monsters around. You would just use the one to summon all of them if you wanted to. You wouldn't use like 2 different ones to summon. Yeah, I guess it doesn't make a difference. But the first part, the last part, is a hard once per turn, which is nice. I want to see more hard once per turns, because if you get to search that card, Mischief of the Time Goddess, it's got to be pretty good. Then we have Goddesses Goddess Scold's Oracle, continuous. When this card is activated, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, minimum 1, you can add 1 Goddess Varan's Guidance from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn during your main phase, you can look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and if you do, place them on top of their deck in any order, but you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except fairy monsters. You can only activate 1 Goddess Scold's Oracles once per turn. So the fact that you can literally stack your opponent's deck is awesome. That's always a good effect to have. You know, Spiral uses this all the time with their deck. They use Quick Fix and not Quick Fix, Drones and Super Agent. Look at the top cards of your opponent's deck, get benefits off of that. This is nice because you just get to sort of see ahead. If they're top decking something really nice, you can just give them one of the worst cards of the 3 that you get to look at. Obviously, there's that clause you can't normal or special summon monsters except for fairies. The only reason I could see that hurting is extra deck wise, but like I said, maybe that's just not the move with this deck. Everything is fairy monsters in here, so that really isn't going to be too big of a deal. And it gets to add this card. If all the monsters you control when activated are Valkyrie monsters, so you get to add Guidance, and then it says when this card is activated, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters minimum 1, you can add 1 Goddess Urd's Verdict, which is the next one. So you could play this, search this, play this, search this. And then I'm assuming play that, but let's read the rest of this effect here. You can add 1 Goddess Urd's Verdict from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can declare 1 type of card, monster, spell, or trap. Reveal the top card of your opponent's deck, and if it was the declared type, they set it to their field. Otherwise, they add it to their hand. Oh. Okay. That's interesting. So you have this on the field, right? You search it out, or you search something with it, and then you play this. Right now, it doesn't look like you can't search these right now, which is sad, sort of. Actually, no, you can search these. You can search. If this card battled, you target a continuous spell in your graveyard. Well, this adds back a continuous spell. And it doesn't seem like there's any way to search these, which is kind of unfortunate. The only way I can see is adding it back. Maybe with Foolish Burial Goods. Use this guy to add it back, but that seems kind of like too much work to do, honestly. You play this, search this one. Look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Place them anywhere. Put a spell on the top. Like a Pot of Desires or something. And then you use this. You call spell. They reveal it. Boom. You knew it. You get set to their side of the field. And then they add it to their hand. You can activate one. Okay, that's that one. And then we get to search this one with this one. So this one says, your opponent cannot target Valkyrie monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's very good. This card is seems like one of the best ones to have. And then once per turn, you can declare 1 card type, name that target name, or declare 1 card name, then target 1 set card your opponent controls, reveal the set card, and if it was the declared card, banish it. Otherwise, banish 1 card you control. So you can literally just have free will to you chain activate these continuous spells to just literally remove any type of spell, monster, or trap card your opponent has that you were able to reveal. That is super cool. That's a really cool way of spot removal. But it is continuous spells, obviously, which fall victim to cards like Ghost Ogre and Twin Twister and things like that, which is unfortunate. But, this deck has potential. Mischief of the Time Goddess. I'm going to try to look that card up real quick. Give me a second. So here's Mischief of the Time Goddess. It is a quick play spell, like I said, and it says neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation and cannot be activated as Chainlink 2 or higher. So you've always got to be the first person to play this card. You can't do it in response to anything, as it says. And at the end of your battle phase, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, minimum 1, send this card to the graveyard. Also, immediately after this effect resolves, skip to the start of the battle phase of your next turn. So all this is really doing is just it's not really skipping your opponent's turn like I thought people were hyping it up to do that. It doesn't really skip your opponent's turn. It's just like I get an extra battle phase. Because it's not like you get to redo your draw phase, your main phase 1, etc., etc. It just puts you right back, because I'm assuming you wouldn't get your draw phase this because it's skipping that. It's just bringing you to your battle phase. So you get a second battle phase, and if you do, you can activate Mischief of the Time Goddess until the end of that turn. Interesting. Maybe the double battle phase is sort of something I'm not seeing yet, but that's interesting. Very, very interesting card. I don't know how good it'll be, this whole deck as a whole, but it seems pretty promising for the most part. I like some of these cards. I like how these sort of get chain activated. That's kind of cool. The artwork's very cool, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. Will you guys be playing this deck when it comes out in Shadows and Valhalla in a couple weeks? Let me know what your thoughts are on this deck, and if there's any sort of new archetypes coming out in the future, let me know, and we'll cover them on the next episode of Featured Archetype. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know there's been a lack of duel videos lately. It's just there's so many duel videos I want to record. I just can't. I just don't have the people to record with right now, and it's kind of rough. I'm trying to set some things up, get some duels. I know you guys want to see Crusadia, Mech Knight Invoked, all that good stuff. I want to play the decks too, and get videos up for you guys ASAP Rocky. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. And as always, guys, want to kill sign out. We'll see you in the next one.